Good morning, Mark Sudduth, HurricaneTrack.com here with your hurricane outlook and discussion for May the 8th, 2015. Of course, it's not hurricane season yet, but that doesn't matter. Nature doesn't seem to follow any kind of man-made calendars, it seems, and thus we do have something to talk about here. Subtropical storm Ana, and if you're wondering, what does the subtropical part mean? Well, basically, this is sort of a hybrid mix of a tropical system with some characteristics that you would typically see in a tropical storm. The banding features, the heavy rain, the wind, the stirred up ocean, kind of like what you would expect to see, right? But the wind field is larger, more spread out, not quite as concentrated near the warm center of the storm like we would see in a purely tropical system, but it looks like it's going to be headed that way, being purely tropical by later today, and I'll explain what that means and why I think that in just a minute. First of all, here's the latest from this morning. Winds about 45 miles per hour, mainly in the deep convection, and I'll show you where that is in just a moment. Moving very little, basically stationary, and the pressure down to 1,005 millibars. Taking a look at the satellite picture, and this is what I was talking about. It's very large and spread out still, not quite as concentrated, but it's getting there. It's trying to develop this deeper thunderstorm activity, or this convection right here. This is this mass of showers and thunderstorms, heavier in this area. This is where the Gulf Stream is running through. Warm water temperatures in the upper 70s to about 80. But then up to the north here, you see these bands of clouds coming in, and they're basically exposed. Very low-level clouds, a few showers, but no deep thunderstorms or convection associated with that. So we don't see it wrapping up very well, not yet. It still has time to try to do so. Maybe some of these thunderstorms will curl in around the center of circulation, and then the wind field would contract, and it would be much more typical structurally of a tropical storm, and it would just lose the subtropical part. It would just be called Tropical Storm Ana. And another thing that we can look at is the water vapor. This tells us how much. This is kind of like an X-ray, and in this case, the white in an X-ray would be bones, and in this case, the white would be moisture. And so this lack of moisture here in this darker color indicates drier mid-level air around the system, but overall it's not too bad considering it's May. Water temperatures are not very warm. There's not a lot of upper ocean heat content to take advantage of, and so it does have a little bit of energy to work with. And if upper level winds will allow, believe me, these systems will try to do the most that they can. They're going to try to reach their maximum potential physically possible on the earth, to reach their highest wind speeds and their lowest pressures given the proper set of environmental conditions. Well, we know that those conditions are less than perfect right now. They're only marginal, so there's only a little bit of strengthening that it's going to do, and we'll take a look at that in just a moment graphically. The track models generally indicating a path towards the South Carolina coastline, followed by a pretty sharp turn to the north and east across North Carolina, right up the I-95 corridor. So there's going to be the potential for a lot of heavy rain in this region. Onshore flow, meaning the increase in rip currents is there, maybe additional high tide lines as each high tide cycle comes in, so there could be some beach erosion. The intensity forecast, for the most part, you see that the model's transitioning towards tropical storm status in the next 6 to 12 hours or so, peaking out at around 45 to 50 knots. So 50 to 60 miles per hour is the most we're going to see out of this. And I want to mention and show you something here. That is going to be felt only in these areas of deep convective activity. You're not going to have 40 and 50 mile per hour winds under this sort of low cloud deck. It's just kind of breezy 25, 30 miles per hour right along the coast. But the deep convection here is what brings those winds down to the surface. And so the hurricane hunters fly through here, and they sample the environment. They go all through the area, flying these different patterns, and they go through this deep convection, and they measure what's going on in there. And that's where those maximum winds are being reported. You're not going to have very strong wind in this sort of naked swirl part of the storm. So that's just something to keep in mind. Now, National Weather Service is a great resource. You can type in your zip code, and I'll put mine in, 28409, here in the Wilmington, North Carolina area, And you can do the same. You go to weather.gov, put in your zip code, and it will return a home page that has some very interesting things for you to look at if you want to know what to expect. And that's right here, this hazardous weather conditions box. And in here is the hurricane local statement, a rip current statement, and their hazardous weather outlook. If you click on any of these, and we'll look at the hurricane local statement, it'll tell you what to expect, and this is written from your area. For example, this is from the National Weather Service in Wilmington, North Carolina, and this tells you the different things to expect in southeast North Carolina, northeast South Carolina, and there's quite a list of different topics from new information to the situation overview, potential impacts, and that's important because that's what we want to know, right, is the impact. And we talk about wind, flooding, rain, and it's all right there. So I encourage you to check this out. There's a lot of interesting stuff in here for you to read, and it's based on information coming from your local National Weather Service office, and that's important because it's written by the men and women who live in your area. It's not computer generated. It's got some human input to it, so that's important to know. So let's look at the radar real quick, and you can see that off the coast of North Carolina, really not a lot going on because, as I showed you, the deeper convection is off the radar screen down here. So just a few limited showers coming through Onslow Bay here, and then well offshore, more limited shower activity. And once again, just to go back and look at this satellite shot, that corresponds very well with what we're seeing on a satellite picture, and this is just out of radar range for the most part. If we see this wrap around, and then as this moves closer to the coast and then turns, then some of this moisture, deeper moisture, can get inland and onto the coast and create that heavy rain threat that has prompted flash flood watches for parts of the region. So there you go. That's what's happening with Ana. Not a lot of concern with it. Very heavy rain possible, though, and that is something to keep in mind. Be careful when you're driving out there, especially along the I-95 corridor. If you know anybody traveling through there this weekend, just give them a heads up. Very heavy torrential rainfall is possible for brief periods of time. This is also a slow-moving system, and that needs to be taken into consideration as well. So maybe not the best of weekends for outdoor activities, but it's going to be hit or miss because this is not a well-organized, well-defined system. As of yet, it could still become better organized, but right now it is not that way. So that's it. Hopefully, tomorrow I'll be heading out into the field, doing some live streaming video, testing some equipment. Better to do it now, I guess, under a situation that's not too dangerous or too much of an issue. Certainly we're not talking about a hurricane here. So why not? I'll get out and get some wind readings, live video streaming, testing some equipment as we get ready for the real part of the hurricane season coming up from June 1st and beyond. So I'll post on Twitter and our Facebook page when I am headed out tomorrow, and maybe even on Sunday. We'll just have to see how things evolve. As always, thanks for tuning in. I am Mark Sudduth for HurricaneTrack.com, and I'll talk to you again tomorrow.